Judan Zoye Janan Van Janju Pardon Dane Aye Geshe Given Dola Benjere Sanje Druba Sanje Judan Zoye Janan Van Janju Pardon Dane Aye Geshe Given Dola Benjere Sanje Druba Sanje Judan Zoye Janan Chanju pardon dane gyabzo je dagi chushe ye sanan kala benjire sanje sa ji beje joje me da chama za li je ni de gemba sanje shin do mi de bo Yugen namda shin la je bara sho ye da ma guru na na tam ni ya da 무슨 실험 발효지 마게 메가 남게모 소소 전에 예셰주 원대좀 예외 요마 차도 대야다 한가대가 바랑가 바라섬 대해서 대야다 가대가 바랑가 바라섬 대야다 가대가 바랑가 바라섬 대해서 대야다 가대가 바라섬 대해서 대야다 가대가 바라섬 대해서 대야다 가대 바라섬가 된 거보대에서 바바 군조스 내가 이 대배도 이제 너가 교지 내가 지워 가지고 다제 버제 담제 메된 배초래니 같은 제션 좀 보여서 하 길이 동자 제주 시와는 미대 내배견다 저와 좀 버듯이 무슨 다시 대장 팀들에
So please listen to the following teachings with a proper motivation, the appropriate the motivation that is appropriate with the Mahayana intention, which is to attain enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. And the reason we intend to attain enlightenment, fully enlightenment, Buddhahood, is in order to that is to alleviate all sentient beings from the state that they are in right now, which is in a momentarily suffering state. So either seemingly or unseemingly, all sentient beings like myself, like ourselves, they are always suffering in the state of suffering. So therefore, in order to alleviate their suffering, in order to remove their suffering, we wish to attain enlightenment, because only by attaining enlightenment we'll be able to see we'll be able to clearly see, clearly distinguish, and clearly identify what are their dispositions and what are their intents and their disposition and so on and so forth. So therefore, in order to see that, we will be only by attaining Buddhahood, we will be able to diagnose the illnesses, diagnose individual cases of sicknesses, mental suffering, mental and physical suffering, as well as how to cure them from this terrible disease known as dukkha, or suffering. So, and the reason we want to do that is because mother sentient beings, as the name suggests, are mothers of, has been our mothers or our parents or our loved ones, not just once or twice or thrice, but countless number of times. And so therefore, we we have that obligation. We have that, I mean, from a very low perspective, even we have that obligation to serve them and to help them. The reason it's a low sort of a low expectation, because from a highly intellectual point of view, or from someone who has realized, if you are already an educated person, then you would realize that it is not just because you are obligated to serve other sentient beings, but because you and others are same in the sense of wanting happiness and not wanting unhappiness. And others are countless and you are just one. And for that reason, for the sake of others, which is countless number, it is worthy of giving up yourself in a way to remove the suffering of others and to serve others. But actually, when you are striving for Buddhahood, you are not actually giving away yourself or giving up yourself. You are not sacrificing yourself in any way. It may seem like a sacrifice, but it is not a sacrifice. Rather than sacrificing yourself, you are actually reinforcing yourself to become stronger in determination, stronger in determination, wiser in solving the problems that others are facing. And when you become more and more professed in solving the problems that others are facing, you also become much more expert in how to solve your own problems. So there is that mutual benefit in it, even though that is not what you are striving for. So as His Holiness always says, bodhicitta is the selfish. If you want to be truly selfish, if you want to be an intelligent selfish person, then you should cultivate bodhicitta, because by cultivating bodhicitta, you will be able to not only help others but help yourself in the long run. So therefore, this is a very safe investment and a very prospective investment. So His Holiness always says that if you want to be a selfish person, if you want to be a truly selfish person, then the most intelligent way to become a truly selfish person is to cultivate bodhicitta, because the intention, the goal, the purpose of being selfish is to reward or to gain something for yourself. And when you cultivate bodhicitta, you gain the ultimate gains. So when you make way for, when you pave the way, when you make ways for others, when you pave the way for others, you also learn how to walk. And when you pave the way for others, the road has been widened for you to roam around freely as well. So therefore, that is the reason, even from a low expectation, or even from a low level of understanding, or from a lower perspective, from a inferior perspective, you are obliged to serve other sentient beings, because they have been so kind to us, and on so on and so forth. So that's from a superior perspective, or from an educated understanding, then of course there's the fact that you and others are both same in wanting happiness, and there are many and you are just one, and you are in the position to alleviate the suffering of others. I mean, you have the potential, even though you may not have the power to do so, you do have the potential to become someone who can eliminate the suffering of all sentient beings. For example, if you have this kind of if a bright thought, if a bright idea if a bright idea regarding how to solve climate change in this world somehow pops up in your mind, then you will make sure, even though it's hazy at the moment, it's fuzzy at the moment, but then you have a vague idea of how to solve the climate change problem. If you have such a thing, you would certainly contact the appropriate people, how to and communicate with them and try to express your idea of how to do so, because that will have a huge tremendous positive effect on the climate change. So this is just climate change we are talking about, which is just for 7 billion human beings, or 7 billion human beings, and the large number of other sentient beings as well. But bodhicitta, Buddhahood, is more than that. It's not just the sentient 7 billion human beings or just this earth. We are not only talking about earthlings. We are talking about all the sentient beings, which is countless number. And so therefore, this is like getting that kind of spark of an idea of how to solve the problem of all sentient beings. It is akin to the spark of idea of how to solve the climate change problem, or racial discrimination, or let's say human rights abuse, or this kind of things. So we have always been working towards how to remove those things, how to tackle those things, but it's always mired in so many hurdles. And so therefore bodhicitta is the aim to attain enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings, which is bodhicitta, is like that one sort of great bright spark of an idea to solve all the problems. And so therefore, this is something that we will certainly cherish and try to cultivate. And so therefore, in order to, so we will not go into why all the mother sentient beings were once our mothers and all that. So since none of us here is new to Buddha Dharma, so we will just assume that you understand that. We are familiar with that. So, and to remove the suffering by merely touching the surface is not sufficient. So one has to uproot the source of suffering, and which is ignorance. And so there are many forms of ignorance, and in this particular session, we are talking about how to deal with, how to tackle, how to uproot the ignorance, the unseen thought, marikpa, avidya, the unseen thought of being ignorant to the reality of all phenomena, the reality of phenomena. So being ignorant to the reality of the world, so to speak. So this is what we are going to deal with. And in order to shatter that ignorance, in order to shatter the boulder of ignorance, one would need the arrow or missile or whatever of the wheel of emptiness. And that wheel of emptiness, that missile of emptiness, that arrow of emptiness has to be pulled by the strings of interdependency. Only through the powerful strings of interdependency, the arrows, other forms of bows and strings, will not be able to sufficiently shatter the boulder of ignorance, the ignorance, the ultimate form of ignorance, which is the ignorance towards the reality of phenomena. As there are many forms of ignorances, there are many forms of unseeing. Anything you don't know, it's a form of unseeing. Anything you do not know and you assume or presume without prior knowledge, and you wrongfully assume or presume, is avidya, is an unseen thought. So today we are dealing with so in order to shatter the boulder of ignorance, we will need the arrow of the emptiness, and that emptiness has to be pulled by the strings and bows of dependent origination. So dependent origination. So there are two words here, den and zhong. There's the bow and there's the string. Then dependent, that is the bow, and string, that is the origination, dependent origination. So, and so in this particular session, we are talking about, we are dealing with, we have been dealing with the Lama Tsongkapa's great treaty, great text, great poetic text of praise to the one who spoke dependent origination. So, and here we are. So last week we touched up to the verse number 20, verse number 19. So we will begin from verse number 20. So this particular chapter is important in the sense of, so you will see that if you remember, you will see that Lama Tsongkapa is replicating, if things are not dependent originated, then things cannot be empty. And if things are not empty, then things are not dependently originated. And if things are dependently originated, then only then they can be function. They can be functional basis. And if there is functional basis, then that basis should be based upon dependent origination or so forth. So you will see him repeating this, since this is a poem, you have to understand that. So this is some sort of like he's hitting a prose here. And at the same time, all those repetitions are not in vain. There are important reason as to why such and such lines were repeatedly were used repeatedly. So for example, here we will see this particular line that we are going through, verse number 20. So this is in relation to to assert or to prove that in order to in order to have a valid function, it is important to have that. In order to function, you need to have that space to wiggle, to space to move around. The space or the emptiness of dependent origination is necessary. And when things are empty of having inherent existence, when things have that empty space, empty of being inherently existent, only then you have the room to wiggle around. You have the room to function. You have the room to sleep, to get up, to wake up, to work, to walk, to speak, to dream, to create, to destroy, and so on and so forth. If things have an inherent nature of its own, then nothing that is made, first of all, nothing can be made, because being made means bringing something that is not in creation into creation. So that process is not possible, because if something is not there, not uncreated, that uncreated phenomena, so to speak, is inherently existing as a non-existing phenomena. So therefore, the non-existence of that non-existent phenomena is inherently existing. So therefore, it can never be made into, it can never be brought into existence, because the inexistence of inherently existing phenomena is inherently existing. And so something that is not there is inherently not there. So therefore, to put it simply, it is something that is not there inherently. If something is not there, then it is not there inherently. And if it's not there inherently, then it cannot be brought into being, because the unbeingness of that phenomena is inherently it's inherent. So therefore, it cannot be brought into existence, or it cannot be brought into being. The first thing, what is uncreated cannot be created, because the uncreated nature of that phenomena, so to speak, is inherent. And the second thing is, whatever is created, supposedly whatever is created cannot be uncreated, because the very essence, so to speak, of the created phenomena is inherent. So that is it is inherently existing, so it cannot be uncreated. So what is not uncreated, what has not been created, cannot be brought into creation. And what has already been created cannot be uncreated or destroyed, or deconstructed, degenerated. So therefore, if things have an inherent existence, then the valid function is not possible. You cannot walk because you are sitting. You are inherently sitting, so you cannot unseat yourself, because your sitting is inherent. If you're walking, you cannot unwalk, because you're walking. The process of walking is inherent. Therefore, it should remain as it is. So the same goes for speaking or non-speaking. If you are speaking, you are eternally speaking, you are perennially speaking, because your the nature of your speaking, the essence, the process of your speaking itself is inherent. So what is made cannot be unmade. What is unmade, what is not made yet, cannot be made. So therefore, a valid function is never possible. There's no room to wiggle. But because things things are devoid of inherent existence, so there is room to wiggle, there's space to move, and there is space and possibility to create and to destroy, to generate and to degenerate. So here goes the line. All of this is devoid of essence. So essence here refers to the Tibetan word ngo, which is similar to, which is synonymous with rangshin, which is synonymous with inherent. So all of this is devoid of inherent existence or inherence. And from this arises the defect. So there are two certainties here. So certainty is, so this is a literal translation. So having a certainty is a form of, in Tibetan, the word term used is nyeba. And nyeba is actually a form of realization. So it's a realization, it's a certain realization. So all realizations are certain. There are no uncertain realizations. So the Tibetan word used was nyeba, and nyeba in literal translation would mean certainty. So there are two certainties here. There are two realizations here, two understandings here, and these two understandings complement each other without any contradiction at all. All of this is devoid of essence, and from this arises that effect. So because things are devoid of any inherent existence or any essence, essence here refers to inherent existence. Because things are devoid of essence, therefore that effect can rise from this cause. From this arises that effect. So these two forms of these two certainties, or these two realizations, or these two understandings can be complemented and can be complemented within the, can complement can coherently exist in the mental continuum, simultaneously exist in the mental continuum of one single individual practitioner. Okay, so sometimes we have we might say, sometimes things can exist within the frame of within a person's frame of mind when you sort of mark the frame of mind from childhood to adulthood. Like if you give like 20 years of gap, then a lot of things can be pushed inside that thing, that what can be termed as no contradiction. So this is a stream of this is a continuum of mental understanding, mental maturation. But here we're not talking about that. Here we are talking about one simultaneous, so a simultaneous coherent existence of these two certain understanding within the single individual's frame of mind. And this is possible. This is a possibility. So it seems quite astonishing, isn't it? So therefore, how can that be, right? It can be astonishing because we just discussed this for the last 10-20 minutes. So it is not that astonishing, astounding, but for someone who has not been sort of like oriented with these phenomena, this philosophy, it will be quite daunting and astounding as well. And so therefore comes the second, the next line, which is, what is more amazing than this? What is more marvelous than this? If this you in this manner, this is real praise, otherwise not. So he is saying that, so Lama Tsongkapa is saying the ultimate praise for Lord Buddha, who taught us dependent origination. So the ultimate praise for Lord Shakyamuni, Buddha Shakyamuni, would be to praise him for disseminating the precious, the precious and magnificent, wonderful teachings, wonderful discovery, sharing us the wonderful discovery of dependent origination to us. If you praise him in any other manner, like, oh, you have beautiful eyes, you have beautiful face, and this kind of thing, it's really inferior. Is a form of inferior praise. So it doesn't mean when he says otherwise it's not a real praise, right? This is real praise, otherwise not. It doesn't mean if you say the Buddha has beautiful features and things like that, it's not a real praise. It is a real praise. But sometimes when things do not reach up to a certain mark, certain standard, then even if someone attempts to do something, we would say like, oh, it's not worthy. It is not the real thing. So this is in that manner. Even though praising the Buddha, praising Lord Buddha for his excellent, the 80 major marks and is 32 minor signs, 80 major signs and 32 minor marks is also a form of great praise. But compared to this thing, it is nothing. Because when you praise Buddha for having golden skin or having a soft hairline and things like that, it is a praise. It does accumulate merit, but then that's it, right? This is where that's all there is to it. But when you praise the Buddha for expounding the dependent origination, then immediately a lot of doubts arise within our mind. What is this dependent origination? What does it do? Why did he teach us that? And then when things unfold as to the the remarkableness of dependent origination, the remarkable qualities of dependent originations are unfolded, then gradually you start to realize, oh, this is the key. This is the key. These are the key words. These are the passwords to unlock ourselves out of samsara. And thus you have that realization. It dawns upon you. The realization of the exit doors out of samsara slowly starts to appear in front of you, even though it's been there for eons, for all the time. Only when you understand dependent origination, when you understand emptiness through the basis based on dependent origination, then you start to see, oh, that exit door has been there all the time. The light, the exit light starts to blink only then. Before that, the door was there, but since there's no blinking and samsara is filled with smokes of suffering and other myriad things, we couldn't find out the exit door. So therefore, this is such an amazing thing. And it is amazing because to those who understand, this is an amazing thing. To those who could not fathom, those who could not comprehend verse number 20, then it's astounding. It is such a daunting sort of explanation, and doesn't make much sense, and it actually astonishes you. But when you understand verse number 20, then you start to realize the amazing manner in which Lord Buddha unfolds the secret of universe, if you like, or the secret of how to unlock the door to exit the exit door of samsara. So what is more amazing than this? It's amazing in the sense because in the sense that because prior to Buddha Shakyamuni's discovery, let's say, Buddha's discovery of dependent origination, it is well established and popularly accepted thought all over the region that in order to function validly, you need to exist, you need to inhibit essence, and from that true essence, only from this true essence, sometimes called as Atma. So if you in the most of the non-Buddhist Indic philosophies, you will find Atma for you call it soul, you call it self, whatever. You will find it in people, you will find it in rocks, everything. Both animate and inanimate objects, phenomena, have Atma, that essence, which makes them what they are, which constitute them as an essence that all phenomena inhibits, which makes it possible for them to project, gives them the potential to project as what we see them as. And because of that essence, because of that soul or self or Atma, things could function. That was the understanding prior to Buddha's discovery of dependent origination. Buddha's discovery of emptiness based upon dependent origination. So we will see more of that down the line. And so this is a discovery, and like all great discoveries, this is such an amazing thing. So therefore, what is more amazing than this, what is more marvelous than this, if one praises you in this manner, this is a real praise. Otherwise not. Makes sense, right? So now this is so this is a form of this is Lama Tsongkapa himself, sort of like being. So Lama Tsongkapa is astounded. He is astounded in the sense of that those who does not follow Buddha's teaching, those who follow, as I mentioned earlier, who follow the concept of Atma, for them to not accept the dependent origination is understandable. For them to say the emptiness as a non-existent, for them to repudiate emptiness is an understandable thing. But for those who profess themselves as followers of the Buddha, and Buddha's teaching consists of the Eightfold Noble Path, the 12 Dependent Links, and 32 Bodhisattva, 37 Bodhisattva practices, and so on and so forth. So for those who prescribe to the Buddha's teaching and accept the phenomena of dependent origination, and yet find it difficult to fathom the philosophy of emptiness, this is such an astounding fact for me. So this is what Lama Tsongkapa was saying. So being enslaved, verse number 22, being enslaved by ignorance. Ignorance here is, as I said in the beginning, ignorance or unseeing, avidya, marikpa, not seeing, that reality of being ignorant, unseeing, and being ignorant to the reality of all phenomena. So being enslaved, being ensnared by ignorance, by such ignorance, so he's referring to non-Buddhist, those who fiercely oppose you. During Buddha's time, there have been many great non-Buddhist scholars who actually contradicted and who threw lots of debates to Buddha and so on and so forth. So those who fiercely oppose you, and there have been occasions where a number of non-Buddhists try to challenge the Buddha, try to ridicule him, and so many other things. And being unable to bear the sound of no intrinsic existence. Right. So what is so astonishing? What is so astonishing about their being unable to bear the sound of no intrinsic existence? Their not being able to fathom the idea of emptiness, being empty of inherent existence or intrinsic existence. That is not surprising, because they have been taught, they have been believing, they have been enslaved by that ignorance, and they are not, excuse me, they have yet to unlearn what they have been taught in the non-Buddhist schools. So, which because of that, it is not surprising. It is not much of a surprise that those enslaved by ignorance, referring to non-Buddhist, those who fiercely oppose you, being unable to bear the sound of bear the sound of no intrinsic existence. That is not surprising at all, because that is what they have been taught, and that which they are not yet ready to unlearn. But, verse number 23, but those who have already accepted dependent origination, who have already followed the Buddha, who believe themselves, who profess themselves as the followers of the Buddha, who have been familiarized with the concept of dependent origination, who have been mesmerized by the precious teaching of the Buddhas, Buddha's phenomenal teachings, phenomenal speech. Them not being able to tolerate the roar of emptiness. Now that is surprising. That is shocking indeed. That is amazing indeed. That is a real shock. So this is almost like Lama Tsongkapa. So you have to understand this is a poem. At the same time, it is such a phenomenal philosophical doctrine. At the same time, it is a poem. So as like any poem goes, it can be sometimes quite. It can be overflowing. Sometimes it can be. Sometimes it can go a little bit. There are moments when things are being sometimes exaggerated. So this is a way of saying Lama Tsongkapa being shocked, being surprised as to find out that Buddhists calling themselves Buddhist, following the Buddha's teaching, believing and bowing to Buddha's teaching, listening intently to Buddha's teaching when he taught dependent origination, yet at the same time not being able to stomach the concept of emptiness. That is such an astonishing thing. So this is what I am astonished about, not those non-Buddhist. This is what Lama Tsongkapa was referring to. Now those who have already followed the Buddha's teaching, those who not only followed the Buddha's teaching, profess themselves to be the followers of the Madhyamika, those who believe themselves to be freed from the two extremities, being in the middle way, the Madhyamaka, the middle way. Standing in the middle way, and at the same time being stuck in the middle. That is also a big problem. You should not be stuck at the right end, or you should not be stuck at the left end. And you should not be stuck in the middle as well, because this whole thing is a road, and you are supposed to traverse on the road, not to be stuck there. So what I meant by being stuck there is to believe that the view of Madhyamika, the view of dependent origination, is the only way, and therefore that concept, that understanding, the Madhyamika, the middle way of dependent origination, that is the only intrinsically existing phenomena. That is the only essence that we have to grapple, and through this we can be liberated. So what here it means is that if you are stuck, if you believe in the concept of dependent origination, but at the same time being stuck, almost like awestruck, and you are being stuck. Being awestruck is okay, but being stuck is not okay. You are kind of like dumbfounded. Sorry, wrong choice of words. Being awestruck or being dumbfounded by the concept of dependent origination, that is still, even though that is also a step in the right direction, even though that is not a destination, it's a step in the right direction. But being stuck in that concept of dependent origination itself, thinking that dependent origination is the reality, or that is the only thing that that is the only inherently existing phenomena, that is the only inherent thing, that is the only intrinsically valuable, valid, functionable thing. every other phenomena is not functionable, not intrinsically existing, not intrinsically valid and functionable. That is also a wrong concept. So here we are talking about this. So you have come much closer than the earlier, from those non-Buddhists who does not even believe in the concept of dependent origination. You have come much further. And from those Buddhists who do not believe in emptiness, but still somewhat believe in the concept of dependent origination, even though their interpretation of dependent origination is much further from the interpretation of interpretation of dependent origination by the Madhyamikas. Now you are in line with the Madhyamikas, but at the same time stuck in the Madhyamaka. You are stuck in the middle way. So if you are stuck there, then how? To those who are stuck at the middle way, we already told them. So there was the one, this is a beautiful, I want to, shared the story, Tsongkapa Rinpoche was teaching one day. I mean, his teachings are wonderful always. So, so he made this analogy of, so he said that, look there. So he was pointing at the moon, and he says, look there. This is such a beautiful thing. And instead of looking at the moon, people, this is an analogy he was making. So when he points at the moon and said, oh, look at that thing, how beautiful that is. Instead of looking at the moon, people are stuck looking at his finger, the index finger, and trying to figure out how is his finger is so wonderful and so amazing like that. So this is very similar in that sense. So we have been telling all of this thing, the middle way is the, we have to strive for middle way, we have to strive for the middle way, we have to strive for the middle way. We have to strive for the middle way, but we must not be stuck at the middle way. Middle way is the way upon which we must tread, we must traverse. So if you, after teaching emptiness, after being taught emptiness, after being taught emptiness in such minute, great detail, being brought you up to this point of Madhyamika, after such long explanation and such hardship, after crossing the boundaries, after crossing the mountains and streams and rivers of non-Buddhism, of the materialistic Buddhism, and all those things, still, if you are stuck in the middle way and not being able to lead into the doorways of not being able to lead into the doorway which all the great masters have treaded in the past, then I am at a loss. I truly am at a loss. So this is what it means. So this is the following teaching, the following lines. The door that leads to non-intrinsic existence, this unexcelled door of dependent origination, through its name alone, if one grasps. So here, the dependent origination is depicted as a door towards as an exit door out of samsara. And if you are stuck, grasping, being stuck is a form of grasping. When you are stuck, you cannot move. When you are grasped, you cannot move. You cannot wiggle. Through its name alone, if one grasps at intrinsic existence, now this person who lacks the unrevealed entrance So you have to understand this is a very literal translation of the poem. So one who does not notice the unreachable entrance. So this is one should how it should be like kind of like read. Because one is grasping, because one is awestruck with the middle way of dependent origination, and therefore one is unaware, one lacks the attention, one lacks the necessary attention of seeing the unrevealed entrance, the first line, which is well traveled, well treaded by the noble ones. So the noble ones can be understood as Lama, Buddha Shakyamuni. So these are all the pioneers of the middle way: Buddha Shakyamuni, Nagarjuna, Aryadeva, and so on and so forth. So these are the noble ones that Lama Tsongkapa is referring to. So by what means should one guide him? So as I said earlier, I am at a loss now. How should I guide you now? To the excellent path that pleases you. That pleases you means pleases Buddha. The excellent path that pleases Buddha. So the path that pleases Buddha is the path of liberation. When sentient beings are all liberated from samsara, not just samsara, but from the state of non-Buddhahood, the state of unenlightened, the state of unenlightened. When sentient beings are freed from the state of unenlightened, only then the Buddha is pleased. Or when sentient beings are brought into, are treating the path that frees them from the state of unenlightenment, not enlightenment, that is pleasing to the Buddha. So how should one guide him? Him meaning the person who is dumbfounded, who is awestruck, who is stuck in the middle way. I am at a loss how to guide him to the path that pleases you, O Buddha. By what means should one guide him to the excellent path that pleases you? Okay. So now comes, this is in relation to verse number, somewhat in relation to verse number 23. By having accepted dependent origination, the precious teaching of your speech, but not tolerating emptiness. So those who have accepted, who have not been able to stomach the teaching of emptiness, but yet has yet been initiated into the philosophy or understanding of dependent origination. As I said earlier, the way they sort of interpret dependent origination is much different from, much further, much different from the ones that were done by the Madhyamikas. So this is their form of their interpretation, the form of dependent origination that they interpret as is called dependent origination of cause and effects. Gyunde Denjung. Gyunde means cause and effect. Cause and effect. Denjung, dependent origination. Dependent origination of the cause and effect. Dependent origination of the law of causality. So what we are doing now is in verse number 26, we are trying to bring, we are explaining, we are trying to, Lama Tsongkapa is trying to tell us that the understanding of causal interdependency as a one step closer to bringing, as a bridge to bring them closer to the understanding, complete understanding of emptiness, the emptiness of intrinsic existence. So how we are going to do this? So as I said earlier, Lama Tsongkapa will be repeating things here and there. Like, so think of this as a workout. So when you do workouts, you have many repetitions, and it may be variant repetitions, but it's repetition nonetheless. Intrinsic nature, uncreated and non-contingent. If something is of intrinsic nature, if something is intrinsically existing, then it is not created. It is intrinsic. It is not it is not created by someone. It is intrinsically there. It is the very being of that phenomena. It is the Atma of that phenomena, the self, the soul, whatever you may call it. And if it is intrinsic, then it is uncreated. And if it is intrinsic and uncreated, and yet still there, then that means that phenomena has come into existence without depending upon anything else. So non-contingent. One form, one concept. Another concept, dependently originated, or dependent origination, contingent, and created. Creatable, if you like. Those two phenomena, how can they converge upon a single basis, upon a single platform, without any contradiction at all? How can a bulb of light, how can a light bulb be not dependent and interdependent at the same time? So the single basis here refers to a single platform, such as let's take for example a light bulb. A light bulb being intrinsically, naturally, and createdly and non-contingently existing, and at the same time, being dependently originated, being contingent, and being created into a light bulb. How can those two converge? So in order to be created, in order to be caused by, in order to be created by a causal factor, so we are, this is a reference to causal dependency here, which is accepted by the people from verse number 23. Those who have departed from the non-Buddhist ideology and following the Buddha's speech and accepting dependent origination. So the dependent origination that they interpret and accept is the dependent causal dependent origination, or causal interdependency, dependent origination of cause and effects. So if things are created, if something is created, then the role of a causal factor comes into play. If something is created by a causal factor, by a cause, then the thing that is the light bulb, let's use that for an example. The platform is the light bulb. So the light bulb, if the light bulb is created by the causal factor of the glass and so on and so forth, then the light bulb, to become a light bulb, to be a light bulb, is dependent upon the glass, the fire, the maker, the blower, and all those things. So therefore, it cannot be non-contingent. So this brought us much, much, much closer to the understanding of the ultimate dependent origination, or the what we refer to as Tendel Samo, profound dependent origination. So vis-a-vis causal dependent origination. Therefore, so this is a follow-up. Therefore, whatever originates dependently, though primordially free of intrinsic existence, appears as it does possess intrinsic existence. So you taught all this to be an illusion, to be illusion-like. Though this very fact, through this very fact, I understand well the statement that to what you have taught, those opponents who challenge you cannot find faults that accord with reason. So whatever accusations, whatever flaws that they have accused you, Lord Buddha, of having, you do not possess any of those, because if you accuse someone of something without proper knowledge of whether that person possessing that accusation or that flaw or not, then whatever accusation that you have thrown might very well go into the drains. So like that, whatever accusations that they have thrown, whatever accusations of flaws that they have thrown at the Buddha for having, he does not possess them, because they have not understood you at all. So those who have, so this is in reference, verse number 25 is reference to Buddhist, 26 to non-Buddhist. Because so 25 relates to 23, 26 relates to 24. Sorry, 26 relates to 22, which is to those being enslaved by ignorance. You know, this is a reference to the non-Buddhist. Through this very fact, okay, this has been done. Why is this so? Because by declaring these, because by declaring these chances for reification and denigration towards things seen and unseen are made most remote. Since we can understand from what we have, from the explanation made in verse 25 and verse 26, 25 and 26, or you can say up to 25 and 26, we understand that the understanding of Buddha, his teaching, his mannerism, his intention, and at all, by his challengers, has never been up to the mark in regards to seeable things. So seeing and unseeing is, seeing is the tangible things and unseeing is the untangible things, like karma and other things, which cannot be directly perceived. And seeing is like bulb, river, mountain, these are seeable things, seeing. So towards things seen and unseen. So whatever Buddha taught about things seen and unseen, you have got them all wrong. Since you have got them all wrong, whatever accusations of flaws that you have, whatever accusations that you have thrown at the Buddha of flaunting, of having, of possessing, are nil. So, towards because by declaring these chances for reification and denigration towards things seen and unseen are made most remote. So they are remotely related to what the Buddha actually possesses, what the Buddha is actually talking about, what the Buddha is actually capable of. You have no idea of what the Buddha is speaking about, because you have judged Buddha, what he intended, what he meant to do, what he is doing, on the basis of what he has spoken. And your understanding, your grasping of what he has spoken is totally remote to what he has actually speaking about, what he has actually been speaking about. Therefore, all the accusations that you have thrown, all the mudslings that you have thrown at the Buddha does not stick at all. So here we stop. So please, question and answers. So we stop at 29.
Rinpoche, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, please go on.
Okay. Why is it, let's just perhaps we need to dive one more time into the question of why is it a contradiction to believe in a formless, let's assume a formless creator God and dependent origination. Again, I do believe there are Western practitioners like myself in the beginning who believe, well, those are two really great ideas. Let's throw them in together, you know, because and obviously why is the attachment? The attachment is because we can't let go of our attachment to an external form of salvation. We just are too afraid. We lack the faith within our own capacity. And then we look around and we don't see enough bodhisattvas, and we're, you know, and we often maybe criticize our teachers or have judgments. So that is, you know, to put that to bed as an early Western practitioner who thought, well, those are two really great concepts. Why are they actually a contradiction? And then if you have time later, or maybe the next class, if you could clarify the mind-only schools and their relation to the Mahayana path.
Oh, okay, sure. In relation to the the Madhyamika school, you mean? Or?
Yeah.
The mind-only school in relation to the Madhyamika school, or?
I would say both. I mean, is there any intersection, or is what the mind-only school purporting and professing, is that in line with right view, or is that in line with wrong view?
Oh, okay, got it. Right. So the first thing, the contradiction of believing in, did you say unseeable or invisible God? What is the word you used?
A formless,
like a formless, right? Formless
energy, a divine energy that's a one creator energy. Yeah.
Right. Right. So a formless divinity, let's say, and a formless energy, a formless divinity, and then dependent origination, So what happens here is one is free will, and then one is not. So when you have a God, whether he is or she is or they are visible or invisible, form or formless, or animate or inanimate, just pure energy or a being or whatever, what happens is that God or divine power or divinity has some sort of power of control over you. And whatever. So the role of the God, if you accept the concept, if you accept the concept of a God, whether formless or not, that God becomes the puppeteer of your life. So and when there is the puppeteer, even though the name suggests dependency, when you say interdependent, it does suggest dependency, but it's dependency not toward a whimsical God. It is a dependency towards one's own action. Dependent origination in the sense of what you create or what you sow and what you gain, or whatever you like to put it. You know, whatever action you commit, you get the, you know, it comes back in reactions. So even though we use the term interdependency, which suggests there is some form of dependency, but we're not talking about depending upon an external form of God here. We are talking about dependent upon one's own karma. Because of this, that arises, you know. Yesterday's you is very much responsible for today's or this morning's your health, peace of mind, and all sort of those things. If you have a, you know, if you have a bad day yesterday, it can have such a adverse effect on how you are doing today. So therefore, formless or not formless doesn't matter, as long as you accept in the form of an external God. By external, I mean something that is, you know, out there individually, sort of like, you know, a deification of God.
Exactly.
Yeah, when you do that, then this will actually, then you actually giving up your free will. You know what I mean? So when you accept the when you accept the concept of interdependency, dependent origination, which is very much the essence of Buddhist teaching, then you have so much free will. You can you can ruin everything. You have that free will, or you can you can lay down a very beautiful path of garden or rose or whatever you like. So that is all up to you. God has nothing to do with that. So that is a different concept. So therefore, free will and no free will, since there are two contradictions, this cannot be coherently existing in one single platform. That for the first question, that is the yeah. Is that clear?
Yes, yeah. I think that's. I think it's just so fascinating. But yes, go ahead.
Right. So yeah. So the second one is mind-only school and its relation to the Mahayana school in general, and specifically to the Madhyamika school, right? So just to put it very simply, we use this. So in the tenet text, the text for the Buddhist philosophical tenets, it says that as far as so we have the conventional, that we have the conventional and we have the ultimate. We have the, as far as the conventional teachings or conventional methods are involved, they are very, very, very similar, very much similar to the Madhyamikas. There isn't much difference. Very few things, like the very few things which, you know, we can go into detail later, but most of them are very there isn't much contradiction here. But when it comes to the ultimate understanding, which means the ultimate truth, so then there's a huge gap, huge difference. Because when you talk about interdependency can be, as we just touched upon the subject, interdependency can be understood in the non-profound state, which is the causal interdependency. So interdependency in general is accepted by both the mind-only school, which is a materialistic Buddhist, and the non-materialistic Buddhist, which is the Madhyamika school. They both accept the concept of the dependent origination. But when it comes to picking the building blocks, when it comes to putting each of the building blocks of the dependent origination, then it's totally different. At the ultimate level, dependent origination for the Madhyamikas is based on emptiness. So that's why I always keep saying dependent origination, understanding of dependent origination based upon emptiness of inherent existence. when it comes to the mind-only school, dependent origination is based on the non-existence of emptiness.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So yeah.
That's,
So,
that's why
well,
Rinpoche, I see.
yeah.
I see why so many times Rinpoche would make it clear the different schools. I was like, he's taking so much time with the different schools, and now I see why. This is so important, clarifying. And again, gratitude to you again for steering us as we chip away. You know, you know, when you talk about the salvation of a collective humanity, are we kind of reliant on bodhisattvas and great gurus and teachers like yourself? I mean, is there any, you know, is there anything external to say, or is it all going to be within an individual capacity? You know, what is the insurance card to say that we're going to have enough bodhisattvas during these degenerate times? Right.
So there are certainly there are many bodhisattvas roaming around, but then in order to see bodhisattvas, bodhisattvas cannot be seen by naked eye. It has to be seen by the naked heart. You have to open your heart, and then only then can you see the bodhisattva. If you try to see your bodhisattva with your mind, you will always mind is always popping up with judgment and you know, passing judgment and all these things, and therefore you cannot see bodhisattva with your, you know, in order to see bodhisattva you have to see from the open heart. And if you look at it that way, then you can see bodhisattvas, and the bodhisattvas will certainly help you if you ask them for help. So we have a saying in Tibetan, to means if you don't have the we call this if you don't have the ring of hope, then the Buddhas cannot hook their compassion. The hook of Buddha's compassion cannot attach it to anything, because in order to attach Buddha's compassion to us, you know, to pull us from samsara, we need to have we need to have the ring of faith. So the ring of faith can be understood as confidence, having a trusting the Buddha, trusting the Buddha's teaching, trusting the Dharma, and not just that, but trusting and seeing all sentient beings, everyone as your guru, as your friend, as His Holiness says, you know, seeing everyone as your friends. If bodhicitta makes you see everyone as your friend, if you really practice bodhisattva, then there is no way you can see anyone as your enemy, or maybe enemy is a very strong word, but someone that will irritate you, or someone that will you know, make you go mad. You can never see that. You can you will start to, when you develop bodhicitta, then you will start to see everyone as someone who is helping you. And then when you feel everyone is helping
and helping humanity, and helping humanity as a whole.
Yes, helping you to help humanity. Yeah. Okay, I think I think we took too much time for this question. So, yeah. Thank you.
Rinpoche, I just wanted to ask a question about
please, John.
logical contradiction. So in an age where, you know, you see leaders, you know, so-called leaders using self-contradiction as a basis to be able of power and actually tapping into people's anger. So we see leaders who will contradict themselves left and right, and actually in the process take a lot of meaning out of what they're saying. Because once you contradict,
take a lot of what? Can you please?
So if you accept, you know, that A plus not A equals anything that you want it to mean, right? I mean, so A plus not A creates a situation logically where anything can follow, right? So, so there's a good side to this, because it, you know, this is, I think, an aspect of understanding, you know, the doctrine of dependent origination and emptiness. but yet this form of speech is used in order to, for leaders to rise above the constraints of logical contradiction. So it's okay, this person contradicts themselves, but I like the cut of their jib, right? Oh, you understand that phrase? So, so if you follow my question, there's something that's close that needs to be refuted. When somebody self-contradicts and then uses that as a way to lead in any direction, right? So that anything is possible. Therefore, if you're angry, I have the solution to that, right? And it's really more anger, right? It's okay to be angry, right? So, and I'm talking about, our leader, right? In this country, right? So, and that's what he does, right? He contradicts himself, and and then anything follows, right?
Right.
So anyway, so I'm saying that there's something close, to that. And so, what do you see as possible? If you see the problem, what is kind of a shorthand way of negating that, right?
Right.
How do you negate A plus dot A equals whatever you want, right?
Oh, how do you negate that?
Yeah.
Right. Well, I don't have a clear answer to your question, but let me just say that leaders being stupid and leaders being very bad or this and that is not something new. It has been there for ages and ages. It is just because of the internet and all that we have been privy to so much. People say, oh, the world has turned into so much negativity, this and that. But actually, if not, we have been in darker times actually before. It is just because of the preview of the internet and because of everyone has a camera, everyone has a cell phone, which is a camera, which is connected to the internet, that is connected to the www worldwide what is the world? What is the acronym? Or World Wide Web, right? World Wide Web. So it's connected to World Wide Web, and that web, like a net of a spider, web of a spider, it's connected to everyone. Because of that, everyone is privy to everyone's secret, and therefore we feel like, oh, the world is turning so much darker. It's like a child saying, a child when they're faced with danger or whatever. I mean, we do that too. We close our eyes we shield our eyes from such a degrading sight. When something is really bad is happening, we close our eyes, but it doesn't stop the things from happening. It just makes us not privy to whatever denigrating or degrading thing that is going on. So just like that, this is the case. And okay, now coming to present time, the leader in question, yes, he has been contradicting himself, and so much thing is going on. But at the same time, if you look at the American media, or if like most Americans post on social media, whatever, we have been pointing out each minute details of the mistakes that he makes and he made. So therefore, we are able to pinpoint that. We are able to make him accountable. And unlike many other countries or kingdoms, or whatever you call, where the leaders are beyond, accusation, accountability. The leaders are beyond accountability. The leader of your country is the leader, and the leaders of your country is actually accountable. And so therefore there is that pro side here. So he is accountable, and you can bring him down if you if that is the wish of the majority. Then you can bring him down for all his madness and whatnot, or you can make him remain as whatever in his position if you feel like it is not too much of a disturbance. So that is all up. within your hands, the American citizens, the American electorate. So therefore, there is the potential for you to, reset the button, or just to go along with whatever you have the choice of changing the cassette, of changing the channel, if you like. So there you go. I think that.
I mean, I agree with you, and I don't want you to have to do that again. So yeah.
Yeah.
I'll let somebody else talk.
Sure. We can have a question for one short question is.
So in some of the talk, I mean, one of the verses mentioned the illusion light. So in terms of how do you actually walk around thinking that you're like in a movie? And is that's like the closest you can get to being illusion like, really, or that I can.
What? Can you repeat the last thing you said?
You know, there's a few people use the word illusion like, or a moon in a lake, or I mean, our Geshe mentioned also being like in a movie, kind of like, it's that idea. Because how do you actually see something as illusion like when it's obviously not? I mean, in terms of there's a cup or a light bulb and it's there.
Okay. So this is the thing. If you see, seeing things in illusion like is to see them as not as trustworthy, not trustworthy in the sense of not being able to function as what it is appearing or projecting as. For example, if there is you will of course not do that. If you see a beautiful lake in the TV, you will not jump into that, because you know that lake is illusion, even though I don't know whether, it is in a sense, it is an illusion. The lake that is projecting or appearing in the television is not an actual lake, so it cannot function. It cannot function. It cannot function as a lake. You cannot swim in it. You cannot drink it. Do any of those things. It's just for your eyesight. It's a visage, and so it is not trustworthy. It is not worthy of your trust as to something to dip in, like a biscuit in a television. You cannot eat that biscuit in the television on a TV ad. You can just look at it. That's all. So like that, you have to see that. Things are, when it in verse number 27, it is referring to the fact that even though things seems to kind of like project an appearance of inherently existing phenomena, but since they do not possess such an inherent existence, therefore their projection of inherent existence is illusion. Like it is like that biscuit in the TV ad, which you cannot smell, which you cannot eat, which you cannot dunk, which you cannot do anything except for just look at it. So that is how to see things as illusion-like.
As in, we don't
not worthy of your trust.
Okay,
not
so
worthy of your trust.
In terms of if we smelled it, we would get wrapped up into it and then attached to it.
Yeah, generally that's the idea, but here it's referring to the fact that if you are, you will get attached to it, and then you will, this is what happens. If, for example, if you are dieting, and then you watch a movie or a film about feast and cooking and things like that, then immediately you start craving for more food. So attachment arises, and so that is actually illusion. Not being able to see illusion as it is. So when you see the mirage, when you see the visage of a beautiful, delicious food in the TV, then immediately you start craving for more food, tasty meals, because you are not able to control your temptations. You're not able to rein in your attachment.
But, and also, I'm sorry to go on, but your idea of the 40th donut that you gave some time ago? How can you see all and how like one instance adds to another? You have donut 1 and then donut 2 and donut 3. At your 40th donut, how do you see all the previous ones? Never mind, it's too bad. I'll think of a better way to state it for next time.
Sure, please.
Okay.
Yeah, I think our time is for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let's just wrap up this with the concluding prayer. So let's pray for the prevailing of the Buddha's the wisdoms of the Buddha's teaching, that we are all able to cultivate the essence of Buddha's teaching, which is wisdom of emptiness, or wisdom of realizing the wisdom of seeing the reality of all phenomena, as well as compassion, the wisdom of seeing the reality of all phenomena enforced fortified by compassion towards all sentient beings. So a kind wisdom. So let's pray for that. Chanju semjo Rinpoche magye palam ke yuruchi kewa nyamba meba yang kone konto pewa sho pende june temba tarshin ke tenzin ke bo tamje kuham san lujen kuna tiki chung sangye temba pato ke yuruchi. So we will do one mixima. We will do the 5 lines. 5-line one. Thank you very much. Have a good weekend.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Rinpoche.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Geshe.